about the different types of thermometers. We are surrounded by too many types of thermometers. Those who used to measure the human body temperature, or those who used to measure the weather temperature or the temperature of different liquids. Actually, too many types of thermometers around us. But today we are going to focus on the main two types of thermometers, which are the medical thermometer and the Celsius thermometer. What are the differences between medical thermometer and Celsius thermometer? There are too many differences. We are going to learn about them right now. First difference is, why do we use any of them? Why do I use the medical thermometer? We use the medical thermometer in order to measure the human body temperature. Okay, my body temperature. Whenever I go to the doctor, the first step is to measure my body temperature by using this medical thermometer. So we usually see them in the doctor's clinics or in hospitals. That's why sometimes we call it the clinical thermometer. Why sometimes do we call it clinical thermometer? Because we see it usually in clinics where doctors work. Okay, so medical thermometer has two names, medical and clinical thermometer. What about Celsius thermometer? Why do we use them? We use the Celsius thermometer in order to measure the temperature of different liquids. Liquids like water, oil, juice, Pepsi, whatever it was, that liquid, whenever I want to measure its temperature, I can use the Celsius thermometer. So that's the first difference. The second difference is the shape itself. If you look at the medical thermometer, it looks short. While Celsius thermometer, it looks longer than the medical thermometer. Why? Because this medical thermometer, it is graduated. It has numbers written on it, just like a ruler. This graduation, we call it the scale of the medical thermometer. So again, our medical thermometer, it looks usually short. Why? We will know right now. Because it has numbers written on it. These numbers, we call them the scale of the medical thermometer. What is that scale? Medical thermometer scale, it starts at 35 Celsius degrees and ends at 42 Celsius degrees. So as you can see, they are just only 7 degrees. So that's why it's a bit shorter than the Celsius thermometer. Okay, while the Celsius thermometer scale, it starts at 0 Celsius degrees and ends at 100 degrees. So as you can see, it has like 100 degrees. That's why it's longer than medical thermometer. Back to the medical thermometer. Why the scale of the medical thermometer starts especially at 35 and ends at 42? It starts at 35 and ends at 42 because no one can live with a human body temperature which is less than 35 Celsius degrees. So that's the minimum body temperature that anyone can have. While no one also can live with a human body temperature that's more than 42. So 42, it's the maximum human body temperature that anyone can have. So just in between 35 and 42, I have an alive person. Less than this, more than that, I have a dead person. While here in the Celsius thermometer, its scale starts at 0 and ends at 100 because that's only the temperature range in which I have water in its liquid state. Water freezes below 0, so it will change into an ice, which is the solid state of water. So I don't have any liquids anymore below 0 degrees. And water also boils at 100 degrees. So when water temperature reaches 100 degrees, it starts to evaporate and change into water vapor, which is the gaseous state of water. So I have only water in its liquid state, just in between these 2 degrees, 0 to 100. Less than 0 I have ice, more than 0 I have water vapor. That's why the Celsius thermometer scale also starts at 0 degrees and ends at 100 degrees. But what about the parts of each one? Now we have covered why do I use each one. That's for human body temperature and that's for liquid temperature. The scale of the medical one starts at 35 and ends at 42, while the scale of Celsius starts at 0 and ends 100 degrees. What about the parts or the composition of each one? Both have same composition except only one thing. Okay, so now I'm going to draw each one and I will show you that there are 3 common labels between both of them. One, I have only one odd label which is found only in the medical thermometer and it's not found in the Celsius thermometer. Let's see right now. Here we have our both thermometers, the medical and the Celsius one. We have here 3 common parts between them. The first one is the glass bulb which is filled with mercury. That's a bulb or a pouch where it's found in both thermometers where mercury is stored. This glass bulb, it's closed from one of its ends and opened from the other end and extends through a very thin glass tube called the capillary tube, label number 2. It's also common in both of them. This capillary tube, we call it capillary because it's very thin, just like our blood capillaries. Clear? Then the whole thing is covered with a thick glass tube, label number 3, which is found also in both of them. Why it has to be thick? In order to protect my capillary tube because it's very, very sensitive and fragile. Clear? The only one label left which is found only in the medical thermometer and it's not found in the Celsius one. What is that label? This label is called constriction. This constriction is found only in the medical thermometer. How does it look like? It looks like a very narrow and tight place. Just like you know the hump that we have on streets. Okay, when I just meet one of these humps, while I'm driving, I have to slow down and go over it slowly, then proceed on my way. Okay, here is the same idea for having this constriction, the tight and narrow place in the capillary tube. This constriction, when the doctor is measuring the human body temperature of any patient after inserting thermometer under his tongue, and after the expansion of mercury through the capillary tube and it reaches at a certain number, it equals my body temperature, the doctor has to take the thermometer out of my mouth and start to look at it like this in order to record my body temperature. At this time, mercury inside could what? Could lose heat, shrink or contract, then return back quickly to the glass bulb, fall down through the capillary tube. Having this constriction, preventing this mercury from returning back, stopping my mercury from going back quickly to the glass bulb, so the doctor is going to have enough time to take the accurate measurement. Okay, so this constriction, it's just like the hump that we have in any street. It makes my mercury slow down while it's returning back to the glass bulb so my doctor can take an accurate reading for my body temperature. So give reason. There is a constriction in the medical thermometer just to prevent mercury from going back to the bulb quickly. Clear? So here I have 3 common labels and only one odd label that's found only in the medical and it's not found in the Celsius. Clear? Then now, if I looked in my booklet, exactly on page 21, here we have an activity that shows what are the proper steps that I should follow while using any medical thermometer. There are steps I have to follow in order to use my medical thermometer safely. What are these steps? First step is to sterilize my medical thermometer. What does this mean, sterilize? Sterilize means clean and killing any germs or bacteria that might be found onto the surface of my medical thermometer. That's what we mean by sterilize. Not just like the normal cleaning, no. It's like deep cleaning that may kill any virus or bacteria might be found on its outer surface. How can I do that? I can do that by immersing my medical thermometer into a very special liquid that's called ethyl alcohol. You know the alcohol that we use nowadays and spray it onto everything just to make it clean and be sure that's clean? That's the ethyl alcohol that I'm talking about. I have to immerse my medical thermometer into a cup that's filled with that ethyl alcohol. Then take it out, inserting it under the patient's mouth. wait for a few minutes until the mercury expands up to the temperature that equals to my patient's temperature, body temperature. Then take it out, take the record. Before returning it back to its box, I have to clean it once more with the same way, or by the same way, which is what? Immersing it once more through the same liquid, which is ethyl alcohol. So how many times do I have to sterilize my medical thermometer? Twice. Once before use and once more after use. So let's summarize these steps right now. Here you go. Those are the proper steps that I should follow in order to use any medical thermometer. These steps starts with sterilizing medical thermometer by immersing it into ethyl alcohol. This special liquid, it has the ability to kill any germs or bacteria might be found on its outer surface. Then I have to shade the medical thermometer. Why I have to do that? Because sometimes due to the weather temperature, especially in summer, I can find that the mercury is already expanding through the capillary tube. How? By gaining heat from the surrounding air. So I have to shake it like this just to push and force mercury to go back to the glass bottle in order to get an accurate measurement. Then I have to insert it or put it under tongue and wait for a few minutes until mercury expands in a way that equals to my body temperature. Take it out, take the record, and here comes the rule of constriction that prevents mercury from returning back quickly to the glass bottle. So my doctor can have enough time to take the record properly. And finally, before returning my medical thermometer to its box, I have to sterilize it by the same way, which is immersing it into ethyl alcohol. So the liquid used to sterilize the medical thermometer, it's called ethyl alcohol. Then here in the same page, page 21, we have a note that says, do not size the thermometer firmly with your teeth. Give reason why. In order to not be broken, because mercury is toxic. That's why, what does this mean first? First, this means that whenever I use the medical thermometer and inserting it under my tongue, don't press, don't size on it with your teeth or gums. Why? Because if it gets broken inside my mouth, the mercury inside it is toxic. So it may kill the patient immediately. That's why in case of babies, it's more preferred to use the digital thermometers, which has no mercury inside, to measure their own body temperature, only in case of babies. Although these digital thermometers are not accurate because they are working by batteries, but they are much more safer for babies because sometimes babies press or size with their gums on that glass thermometers. So mercury thermometer is very accurate, but it's not safe for babies, while digital thermometers not that much accurate, but they are safer for them. Okay? Then here on page 22, we have a very important part, which is why is mercury preferred in making thermometers? Why do they choose mercury as a thermometric material? As a material that's used in making thermometers. Why especially mercury and not any other liquid? Because of 5 reasons. What are these 5 reasons? First, mercury belongs to the group of metals. Remember when we divided elements into metals and non-metals in Junior 4? Metals, which are having luster, having high melting point, good conductors of heat and electricity, malleable and ductile. Those are metals. All elements that belong to that group are solids at room temperature, except mercury. Mercury is the only liquid which has all these properties and it belongs to the group of metals. So, because mercury is a metal, so it's going to be shiny, having luster, so it can be easily seen. And it will be also a good conductor of electricity. A good conductor of heat. So, because of this, having mercury, or mercury is belonging to the group of metals, I have here 2 reasons. It will be easily seen through the capillary tube, and it's a good conductor of heat. Now, what about the 3rd reason? It doesn't stick to the walls of the capillary tube. Mercury used to rise up from the capillary tube and fall down without leaving any traces onto the inner surface of the capillary tube. It's not like, for example, the mango juice, when you drink a cup of a mango juice, after finishing it all, you can find like there are traces for these mango juice onto the inner surface of my glass cup. But mercury doesn't leave any traces. That's why we say it doesn't stick to the walls of the capillary tube, which is a very, very special property about mercury, and it helps a lot in using it in making thermometers. Then the fourth one, regular expanding material. It expands when it gains heat and it contracts when it loses heat. Finally, it remains liquid between -39 and 357. Mercury stays in the liquid state between two temperatures, which are -39. -39, this means that it's below zero by 39 degrees. And it keeps on in its liquid state up to the zero by 357 Celsius degrees. So that's a very wide range of temperatures. So like this, I can use this mercury in making too many thermometers that suits or that's used to measure the temperature of different things, because it stays liquid between -39 till 357. Okay, so those are the 5 reasons that we should know about mercury for choosing it as a thermometric material or a material used to make thermometers. Thank you so much.